Okay. All right. Let's see what's going to happen tonight. Hey, John, how you doing? Daniel, how y'all doing? Yeah, blind leading the blind. Them two outdoors, what's going on? Hey, Chris, how you doing? Hope everybody's having a good evening. Those of y'all in here, anybody do the opening day of the goose season today? Was anybody able to go? John, I know you don't goose hunt, but just kind of curious. Got 17 fish? Oh, you're hunting now, them too? Hey, Joe. So you're on a dove shoot right now. That's cool, man. Yeah, ours doesn't open up to Saturday, so you goose mama. M2, remind me again where you're at. What area you're in? What state are you in? I should say. Missouri. Okay. And y'all's dove season opened today, right? All across the state? Yeah, Joe. I know you're in Idaho, but I couldn't remember where M2 was at. .30 minutes south. Okay, W6. Yeah, that's probably what he's doing right now. Is probably what he's doing right now is on a dove shoot. I would not doubt it. W6, if you're listening, good luck, Bubba. Well, we're gonna start. I think Chris from Duckalope Outdoors is going to be coming in today. He said he would. Hoping he does. Get a little conversation going. Now, let's see. I know Daniel's in South Carolina. Chris, where are you at? Chris Uselton. I'm sorry. Or what state are you in? Indiana. Okay. All righty. So My question is to Daniel, and it's actually going to go to all of y'all, but I'm going to start it off with Daniel first. Oh, you must have been at Simpsons, Daniel. But my question goes out to Daniel first, and then to Chris and M2 Outdoors. Daniel, have you ever seen ducks here in South Carolina in a dry field? In a dry field. And then my next question for Chris is the same thing. Chris, have you ever seen ducks in Indiana in a dry field? And M2 Outdoors, have you ever seen ducks in a dry field? I promise I got a method to my madness. John, I know you don't duck hunt much. Okay. Cut corn. Okay. Chris, you don't hunt ducks, but you've seen them feeding in the corn before. Okay. Daniel, no, I haven't. I pass shot ducks. Yeah, cut corn in the field. I got you. And corn on occasion. Mostly what? I missed. Went by real quick. Okay, so you've seen ducks in the field. Daniel has not. He's never seen ducks in the field. He's seen them flying over, maybe, but he's never seen them feeding in a agricultural field, whether a dry agricultural field. TRI, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? So the question out today is: TRI? Have you ever had ducks? First of all, what state are you in? And have you ever had ducks feeding in a dry field? You've seen a few whistlers sitting on the hood of your truck. Yep, they eat all the time in the fields. Now, let me ask you this, guys who are out west, have they cut the corn yet? I know some corn has been cut, but have they cut the majority of the cornfields yet? Is what I'm asking. Sorghum also. And just geese, okay, in Kentucky. TRI Outdoors, Virginia and Kentucky, and no, just geese. Okay. And in Virginia, TRI, have they already cut their corn? Their cornfields? Have they already been cut? And I'll kind of give you a heads up. I do have a message to put out there, and this basically came off with a conversation that I had with a very good friend of mine who may be sitting in the back listening, but that's Ty Bodiford. He owns a South Carolina State rice company. And the majority have not cut their corn yet. Okay. But they'll be cutting it soon, I'm quite sure. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, I've only seen ducks in South Carolina, and I'm just talking South Carolina, in a dry field twice in my lifetime. Twice in a dry field. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Other people may have seen it before, but my 48 years of duck hunting, I've only seen ducks in a dry field twice in South Carolina. Now, I've hunted them in dry fields out west, places, west of the Mississippi, and I've been to Alberta. So I've hunted in those dry cut fields. But there's a reason why you don't see a lot of ducks on the East Coast in a field unless it's flooded. And the simple reason, the easiest reason, is we're cutting our corn right now. The majority of the corn that I see right now has already been cut, and they're cutting every day. Some fields have got to get a little drier than others. The corn has to dry out a little bit more before it can be cut. But for all practical purposes, we are cutting our corn right now. So if we're cutting corn right now in September, or August and September, that food, that waste grain that'll be on the ground, will either have rotted by the time duck season gets here, or it is going to start shooting sprouts. Therefore, there's very little to eat in that field other than some bugs and maybe some other little barnyard grasses of some sort, which they can get pretty much closer to the water. Yeah, mid-September through November, depending, right? And in Indiana, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, you got to get your corn cut before it snows. And so it could be, into November. And when it happens, when y'all cut y'all's corn in November, there's going to be some waste grain. There's going to be some waste grain. And the ducks can get on that waste grain, out in those fields. That's why when you see a lot of videos, you see people out west, they're hunting these fields and they're killing ducks and geese in these fields, because these fields have pretty much just been cut or recently cut, and there's a lot of waste grain. And you're right, TRI, the doves, quail, songbirds, turkeys, varmints such as raccoons and possums and deer and hogs, they're going to be hitting those fields now, getting that waste grain way before the ducks even migrate here. And that's what we're kind of talking about tonight until Chris from, if he shows up, gets here, then we may go somewhere else. But, a lot of guys, yep, and all the birds hit them hard. Yep, you're right. So a lot of critters are going to get to that waste corn, and that includes corn. Years ago, I had the opportunity to hunt around Eastland, Texas, and we were hunting stock ponds. And in these stock ponds, there was no food. It was just water. And I couldn't understand at the time why we were killing so many ducks out of these stock ponds, mallards, pintails, widgeon. What I didn't know, and what it took me later in the day when I started asking questions, is not too far away, they were in the process of harvesting peanuts. So, they come through with their machines. I'm not a farmer, guy, so I don't know the technical terms, but they come through with their machines and they bring the peanuts up out of the ground, and they roll them over so that they can dry out to be picked up later and sold. So that was late in the year. So they had a late crop. And most of your Western states have late crops. It's, that simple. And because of that, in your migration, yeah, exactly. So your migration, you're out west, you have a bigger migration than the East Coast, of course. A lot of these ducks are in these fields, in these dry fields. And, South Carolina, if you've ever been through here or looked at it on a map, we're a huge agricultural state. a lot of corn, peanuts, soybean. Of course, we have others, like cotton and whatnot. There's, no benefit to the waterfowl there, but it's picked so early in the year, like I said, August and into September, that by the time the regular waterfowl season comes around in November, these fields are picked clean, or the corn has rotted. It's gone. There's nothing there. And ducks aren't crazy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're not crazy. So what I'm getting at, so when people ask me, do I hunt, especially right now, here it is, September 1, do I goose hunt? I don't goose hunt. We have a resident season. It started today. Most of these geese are on the water, and they're getting water. They don't need the corn right now. Okay, they don't need that carbohydrate right now. It's not cold. It's 100 degrees outside, so they don't need the carbs. They need the other stuff, the invertebrates and the plant life that they get. So, most of the geese that I see are, on the water, and they're hard to target. Whereas out west, now I'm not saying that it's cold out there right now and they need carbohydrates, but if they've just started picking a little bit, making, I guess that what they call it is a moisture cut, to see how much moisture may be in that field on the corn. They may do a pass just to check it or something. But that fresh corn will be on the ground, and your resident geese, y'all, it hits it. Ours don't at all. I mean, I'm not saying don't completely, because I'm quite sure there are some places here in the state, but it's on private property, and the only place to hunt public is on the water right now. It is hard to hunt them this time of year. So I just don't mess with the geese. But a couple of years ago, I saw some ducks on a green field. It was a winter wheat field, and the winter it had just started sprouting, and I can only assume that the ducks were, and it was just after the duck season, so I can assume now that they were pulling up the shoots and possibly getting the little seed head down at the bottom and a little tuber, and maybe eating that. Yeah, it's very common, Joe, to see them out west. So, you just some things to be thinking about, while we're, this time of year when you're scouting and whatnot. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Well, they get the carbohydrates from a field. They get, from a cornfield, or, that type of thing. And even soybean. I mean, I've seen ducks in flooded soybean fields, but soybeans, and I just found this out today. I straight up just found out today. Did not know it before. Again, I'm not a farmer, but my understanding and the way the guy explained it to me was when they're picking soybeans and the combine that they're using, it shucks the whole, not only the bean, but also the hull that's around it. Then it goes into the machine and it hits the tumbler, and that's when it splits it open. So, and spits out the hulls, and all you're left is with the soybean itself, which is a more efficient way of picking that particular crop. You don't have a lot of waste. So, and what they're looking for in December and January, once it starts getting colder, they're looking for the carbohydrates that corn provides. Exactly, Ryan. And that's because the corn and whatnot is either rotted or eat up. Now you may get some springle top stuff in there, but I mean that's some wheatgrass, which has like springle top, and if you have an area of a cornfield that may be a little low to the ground, you may have some smartweed that pops up. But you don't get but you're right, you don't get those nutrients. Ryan, I keep forgetting you're down here too. I'm sorry. I'm trying to catch up with a little bit of chat. Yeah. You had mallards and what? You said woodbine eating acorns. Yo, Jeremy, what's up, buddy? Yeah, M2. I've not personally seen it, but I know people who have been hunting close to water and deer hunting. And of course, here in South Carolina, we can bait, and they'll have a corn pile out or a feeder, and they've had wood ducks land in the water and or the wood line. Okay, they'll have wood ducks that land in the water and swim up to the edge and then get up on dry land and then walk into the into the man's deer corn. Fins and Fowl, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. But it was something I've never, like I said, I've never seen them. But like I said, last year, a couple 3 years ago, I saw them like in a green field here, and like I said, the conversation I had with Ty early this afternoon, it just brought up a good point. You see a lot of I've had people ask me, so why don't you hunt ducks in fields? Why don't you flood your fields? Why don't the farmers flood their cornfields and whatnot? And I'm talking about cut corn, and leasing them out and that kind of thing. Well, the simple fact of the matter is there is no waste grain. There would be nothing there. Like I said, unless some springle top popped up, or maybe if they were in a low-lying area that could possibly have smartweed in it, and it popped up. So I mean that would be the only way that the ducks would get anything if they have smartweed that comes up. They can eat the smartweed, the seeds, and of course the invertebrate that come around. You may get some invertebrates, but I don't think you'd get enough. Personally, I don't think you'd get enough. I could be wrong. What are y'all thoughts? If the South, especially in South Carolina, started flooding cornfields, if they had a level enough area, you guys that hunt here. Right, new technology, they're picking better. They're getting less and less waste grain. So I'm kind of, it's something to think about. What if farmers did, if they had a level enough area that they could dike off and pump water on it? Would it be worth it for either a lease? Monica, how you doing? So it's something to think about. You know what I'm saying? It's a, because right now, I mean, when I do my scouting, I'm on water. but like I said, I've never had, I've had people in the past say, well, why don't you hunt fields? Why don't you scout fields? Why, you're in a big agricultural state. Well, there's the reason. The waste grain's not there because it's already been picked in late August, early September, and every little critter that walks or flies is on that field before the ducks get here. So share your thoughts with me about this. Andy Jack, I got some ammo in. I'm good right now. Well, I don't know about the early teal. Yeah, if the fields were close enough to a duck area where you're going to get teal coming in, it would. I think it would benefit the teal, especially if you had, 2 or 3 inches of water on it, and that was it. I think you'd get an invertebrate explosion, which the teal would love. They'd probably get into some of the corn that was left. But I do also think that most of the farmers may be leasing those areas out for dove hunters or deer hunters. We have a lot of deer hunters here. Chris, you can call me Matt, M-A-T-T. It's fine. If I ever hunted quail or pheasant, we used to quail hunt all the time. We called them birds. We used to bird hunt all the time when I was growing up. Right after Hurricane Hugo, 88, I think it was 1988, 1989. Can't remember now. Been so long. When Hurricane Hugo came by, it pretty much destroyed a lot of the natural habitat. We started seeing fire ants in our state. Fire ants will decimate a quail nest if they can find it. And the farming practices were changing even prior to that, where they were planting hedgerow to hedgerow and they weren't leaving any cover for the birds. So we have lost a lot of quail habitat, and our bird numbers have dropped very significantly. As far as pheasants, I've never gone on a wild pheasant hunt. I have been on a game preserve on a time or two. It was fun for that once or twice. And after that, it was just a shoot, and I just didn't enjoy myself. 89 for you. Thanks, buddy. I'm getting old. I can't remember everything. But I've never wild pheasant hunted. I'd love to do it over bird dogs. This is what I'd like to do. Over a good set of pointers or setters. I'm not sure I'd enjoy driving a field, but I like to work behind the dogs. I like to hunt right behind them. Yeah, it's that's why I said it. That's why I said it that way. It was a pheasant shoot. It was not a pheasant hunt. These pheasants were placed. And like I said, it was fun for the first and second time and the only 2 times that I did it. But I got, I'm not saying disgusted with it or anything, but it's not for me. It's not the way I want to do. That's not the way I like to hunt. Yeah, I was getting confused there. I just got confused, Bo. Come on now. So the thought of the day is something to be thinking about when, you know. Yeah, you can walk all day. Yeah, Daniel, we had a place near Pacala Swamp, and I'm quite sure you probably have heard of it before. We had an area right near there that we had a house covey that always had 20 or 30 birds in it. We would shoot the house covey to keep them at that 20, and then we'd go around searching for other coveys. There was at one time we never even hunted singles. We'd hunt a covey rise, and then later on, you know, we'd bust a covey up and then go hunt the singles and doubles. As a matter of fact, Daniel, don't ask me his name because I cannot remember. I'll have to call my dad. But he had a relative that lived in Atlanta, and I cannot remember his name to save my life. I'll have to ask my dad. And I believe it was a relative. And he lived in Atlanta, and we shot birds. We used to go bird hunting there all the time. But getting back to ducks, oops. But getting back to the, like I said, to the fields, you know, I'd be kind of curious if, you know, I really would be kind of curious that if I had let's say 20 or 30 acres and you planted corn later in the year so that it would be ready for harvest later in the year, to sell as deer corn, you know, you wouldn't want to sell it for anything other than that, but cut it and leave it dry and see if you could have ducks feed in that field. But I think you definitely have to have a place that's close to water, and it has a somewhat of a concentration of birds on it. Yeah, same. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, I usually have too much to do in the afternoons. That's why I go hunt early. But I think you're right. You'd have to get loafing and preening areas, and then trying to pattern them, because they'll be. I mean, I've never seen a huge flock of geese in South Carolina. 15 to 20. That's it. That's the biggest I've ever seen. I've never seen hundreds of flocks of geese in the Carolinas. I personally have never seen it. Most I ever see is between, let's say, 5 and 10, if that. I see most of them in parking lots, golf courses, and parks. All right, Chris, take care of yourself, buddy. Thanks for coming in. Backwoods Barbarian, how you doing? So the conversation tonight, Daniel, is here especially the Atlantic Flyway in the south. Are you just finishing up at work? Okay. We're down here in the South. We never see ducks in a dry field. So my question to you is where you're at, in your agricultural areas, do you see ducks in dry cut agricultural fields after they've been cut? And then, being that you're in Canada, if you do, what time of year is it? Hey Tina, how you doing? Hopefully Daniel's not too busy at work. He can answer. But I'd like to do it. I'd like an experiment. I'd like to know what could happen. Let's say if you owned 20 or 30 acres, we'll get area specific. Anywhere on the let's say the Santee Lakes, Lake Marion, Lake Moultrie, and a field was planted late in the year so that it would be near harvest, say early November to mid-November, and you leave it dry and see if any ducks go in there. I wonder if that, so if what I'm saying is true, that there's no corn left in the fields, would they start using cut cornfields to get the waste grain? That would be the experiment. So I'm up for anybody donating me enough money to buy 20 or 30 acres. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding. All right, so you're seeing them going into fields that haven't been harvested yet. There's still corn on the stalk right now. They'll be there once it is cut. Okay. Hey Cecilia, how you doing? Yeah, Daniel. Think about that for a minute. Even if it was, just a handful of birds, and they're on the outskirts of the corn rows. Okay. I'm just kind of curious, if that by chance could be why we don't have a lot. We don't see ducks in a dry field. Once it's cut, they'll be all over the field. Yep. Okay. And what time of year do they start cutting, Daniel? Usually, what time of year do y'all start cutting corn? If you said it earlier, I lost it. Because see, down here, we've already cut the majority of the corn is already cut. In October. And what time's your duck season start? Y'all should be started in September, October, right? And there you go, guys. Because Daniel is on the East Coast. He's in Canada, but he's in the Atlantic Flyway. So they're cutting corn in October prior to our season, and they got ducks in the field. Season opens in sometimes mid-September, but season open in October. Okay, so there you go. Right before the season opens, the corn is getting cut, and the ducks are utilizing the fields, the dry fields. Now, our corn is always cut 2 months. It's being cut now, so everything's going to be cut in here unless we get a lot of rain. That corn's going to be cut by mid-September. And And then we still got, half of September, all of October, and half of November. So 2 months, and that corn could be gone just from other critters. Well, Daniel, I don't know if you heard earlier. I thought the same thing. I said, "Whoa, wait a minute," because they cut soybeans later on, like in mid-October and into early November, right? But the machinery that they use when they go to pick it, it picks the hull and the bean inside the hull. As it goes through the machine, it takes the hull off and keeps the bean, throws the empty hull out and keeps the bean. Therefore, there's very little waste involved. So in a soybean field with very little waste, I mean, it may be a hit and miss. You see a duck or two, maybe, but there's really, their pickers are so proficient. The machinery is so proficient in picking the soybean. I don't think it would make a difference. I've heard that too, Daniel. Backwoods barbarian, Daniel. No worries. Hey, that sounds good to me. I don't have to own it. Just give me rights to hunt it. But I'm curious. I am really curious as how that, if, now it would be on a small scale, an extremely small scale. You'd have to pick a place that is in a flight path, in a flight area of migrating ducks. Hang on to that thought, Daniel. But it would have to be in a place that's, because let's face some facts. Mallards very rarely migrate south of where I'm at. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying they very rarely. This is generally speaking, South Carolina, the Santee Cooper Lakes are the final stop for the Atlantic Flyway mallard. So, if you have to pick a place, in this area, in the two lake systems, Lake Marion, the Upper Lake, and Lake Moultrie, it'd have to be an area that's doesn't have to be flat, because you're not going to flood it at first. Because at first I wouldn't flood it. I would just like to see if I could get ducks to come into a dry field after it's been harvested late. Late. But that would be interesting, I seriously. I just think it'd be an very interesting experiment. And of course, I wouldn't hunt it for a couple of years, because I'd like to see if they keep coming back. I've shot ducks in a natural flooded bean field that could not be cut of a wet year, and it was wood ducks. I have seen wood ducks, or summer ducks as I like to call them. I have seen them in flooded cornfields, cut. And when I say flooded fields, cut agricultural fields. I've seen them in that. I have seen them in flooded beans. I just didn't have the permission to hunt them. And again, when I was talking to Ty, he has a friend of his that owns some property, and they don't flood it for ducks, or if they do, they probably just started. But he has actually seen summer ducks go into a dry field, into a dry cornfield. But it was they don't see it all the time. They just saw it like once or maybe twice over the years that they've owned the property. But I'm wondering if you did it the way it's done out west, could you attract more ducks into a dry field? Sunfish, how you doing? It's just it's a thought. I mean how and even if it doesn't, let's say you did it for 3 years and you didn't see the first duck, then you could go back and maybe flood that field after it's cut and then see what happens. Or during that trial period while you're watching it, you may have a wet winter. You may have a wet winter, and it may flood that field if it's possible, if it's contoured correctly. And you could kind of like base it off back and forth to see if ducks are going in there. I mean, it'd be very interesting because if it did work and you got farmers involved with it, your farmers, they want to cut their corn early so they can get their harvest because they're going to be planting winter wheat on top of it. But you may have some that may do a layover and let it grow into some natural grasses and then flood that, such as Sprangletop and, smartweed and so forth. I'm sorry to hear that, Monica. Yeah, exactly, Anti. Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, seriously. I mean, I just think it would be an interesting. If I had the money, I would. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't have it. I don't have 2 nickels to rub together right now. But it would be a very interesting experiment. To see what happens. And that's why I was getting on. Yeah, just see if they move over. Yeah. I mean, you could, in a 30-acre, let's say you had a 30-acre field. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do in 30 acres. A lot of stuff that can be done on 30 acres. You could plant a moist soil area, and if you had a contour to where it was low on one end, where you could flood that low spot for a moist soil area, and leave that dry area alone to see what happens. I mean, it's just. Hang on. I gotta enlarge this, Daniel. All right, Backwoods, take care, buddy. As we have shot a variety of ducks, mallards, pinto, etc., in a field, but joined by the Black River ditches. Now, is that a flooded area? Are they flooding that, or is that in dry fields? I'm curious. All right, Cecilia, we'll have them in prayers. But like I said, it's an interesting thought. I'm all about trying to figure something out. Naturally, you think they've shot on both, but it naturally floods on wet years. That's interesting, Daniel. Because if that's happening, if they're shooting on dry fields here in South Carolina near the Black River ditches, then my theory has just been expounded on. But I wonder what they're eating. That would be my next thing is what are they eating? Because I just can't imagine corn staying on the ground for 2 months without, number one, being eaten by something, number two, rotting, or number three, regerminating and sprouting up shoots. So I'd like to know what they've got in that field. And like I said, it could be springle top. It could be a moist soil area where they got smartweed or something growing in it. I'm just kind of curious. And if so, I'd like to meet them, Daniel, if that's possible. I don't necessarily need to hunt. I'd like to meet them and see what they're doing and see how they're doing it. It's really low in damp. So they may have something like smartweed. If it's low and damp, on a dry year, they may have smartweed that's growing up in there. And that is a very distinct possibility. Cecilia, thank you so much. Because that would be extremely interesting for me anyway. But in case any of y'all in here that don't know, I'm not going to sit here and tell a man what to do. Well, I do appreciate that, Sunfish. Thank you so much for your kind words. I would never tell someone what to do on their property. Okay? Man owns property. That is his property. Do what he wants to on it. I personally do not like hunting over flooded, unharvested fields. I've said that numerous times, over and over and over and over and over. I just don't. I don't. To me, even though it is very, very legal, to me it is legalized baiting to be able to hunt over an unharvested, flooded agricultural field. You don't think the guys have the land rights anymore? Okay, so I would never hunt over. I would never plant it and let the corn grow and then flood it and hunt it. I would never do that. The same with rice. And even though I think that rice is a better option, if you're going to grow a crop, grow rice. It's just so much a better option if your land will support it. If your land supports it, then grow rice. But if I had the property, if I had property, I can tell you what I would do. First of all, I'd like to do the experiment on the dry cornfield after it's harvested. That's one experiment I would love to do. But if I was going to plant an area or do something with an area, it would most definitely be a moist soil area. Now, I may plant rice in it, but I would harvest that rice. Now, once that rice is harvested, the waste grain from that rice will fall to the ground. It will regerminate. It will start to grow because you're harvesting rice here in the next couple of weeks is when we're going to start harvesting rice. So the fields have already been dried out to harvest this rice. So they're waiting for, you got to wait for the moisture count in the grain, to get lower, and then they can harvest it. Well, that waste grain will hit the ground. it will start to regerminate. And once it gets up a little bit, it starts on its own, then you can put water on it. Now, those young tender shoots, ducks will eat. They'll get up under there. They'll root it out. It's waste grain. That's fine. It'll also have a huge invertebrate explosion. You also get other natural stuff like smartweed and sprangletop and a whole lot of other things that are growing in there. And I think you'll come out with a better mixture of food for the birds, a more balanced than just doing a straight grain crop. So, so I'm really thinking that, if I had the property, that is something that I would like to do. Hurry back, Monica. But the experiment, just talking with my buddy today, Ty, it just got me thinking, oh man, I wonder if that's, would they come? And it would take them some. Like I said, you'd have to pick the right spot, because just because you build it doesn't mean they're going to come. You've got to pick the right spot, and but I think if you did, and you harvested that corn, and like I said, you plant it late, and get it harvested. I mean, heck, man, you can sell it. I mean, bags of corn are going $7, $8, $9 a bag. You could make some of your money back, in deer corn for the, late November, December deer hunters, and into January with the hog hunters. So you could make your money back. You could sell that corn. That's not a problem. So what are y'all thoughts? I mean, come on, help, type in your thoughts. Tell me what you think. It's an interesting thought, is it not, Daniel? I mean, seriously. I've always wondered, here was my thoughts up until recently, that why we didn't see ducks in fields. They didn't need the carbohydrates. I mean, come on, it's South Carolina. Yeah, we'll have a few cold days. And after 48 years of duck hunting, could I have missed ducks going into a field? Of course. Because we don't get that huge concentration like we used to way back when. But my thought pattern was, well, they don't need corn. They don't need carbohydrate to stay warm. They need, what they need is a small grass seeds that they get carbohydrates from, or they, natural stuff, or they need invertebrates for egg production. They needed that mixture of stuff. I do too, sunfish. That's what I'm saying. You'd have to find the right person and the people for the land. But you see, you can't expect to do this in the first year and be able to hunt it. And I mean, you may get one hunt if you're extremely lucky, but I don't think you'll get. It's going to take some time for ducks to find it. And I know that because they're not used to it. That's what I'm saying. You got to give it some time of just watching it and see what happens. And heck, this may have already been done. I just don't know about it. But you couldn't plant. You wouldn't be planting corn as early as we do now. You'd have to be doing it later in the year, and then letting it. This would not be eating corn. This wouldn't be your sweet corn. This would be your dry corn that you're gonna bag up in 50-pound bags and sell it for $9-10 a bag, you know. So I'm just kind of curious. I am too. Oh man, what did you miss? Well, we were talking about doing an experiment here in the South. um, Basically, put M2 is taking, let's say, a 20 or 30 acre field here in the South, where we don't very rarely do we see ducks in a field. Plant late in the summer to where it's harvestable in late October to mid November, then harvest it, sell that corn for, deer corn or feed corn or what have you, but leave it dry. Leave it a dry field and see if ducks will come into a dry field. It's just an experiment. Oh, thanks a lot, Sunfish. I appreciate that. You're right, Daniel. It would have to be near that. And there's very few places left, but that's where it would have to be. And anybody that knows anything about South Carolina real estate, that would be a very expensive venture. Very, very expensive. But I would say, Daniel, anywhere, if you took the Santee Cooper Lakes and went to the far west of the swamp and drew a straight line north, and then the far east side of the Lake Moultrie and drew a straight line north, anywhere near there in water, because you got the Santee Cooper Lakes, then you got the makings of the Black River, and you got the Lynch's River, and then you got the big PD, and you got the little PD. You got all that all the way up. So it would have to be in that corridor. I would believe. And yeah, you're right, TRI. I mean, you're 100% right. Yep, you're right. 100% right. Well, I appreciate that, Backwoods. And I, listen, farmers got to make their money, because as soon as they get that corn cut, it's you guys that live in agriculture areas, those farmers are going to cut that field. They're going to give it a little while. They're going to turn it under. Some of them may not even do a no-till, and they're going to drill winter wheat in, and they're going to put their winter crop in. So I think that is one of the reasons why we don't see ducks in our fields, whereas out west you have these huge expanses of cornfields. They're huge. They go on for miles, and they can take certain parts of that parcel and turn it into something else, and leave the other standing, or leave the other laid out for the year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Daniel. So anywhere from the Santee Cooper Northway, although the furthest east and west of it, draw a straight line anywhere in that corridor. I mean, it's an interesting thought, is what I'm getting at. And you couldn't, I don't think you could get a farmer to go along with that, because he would definitely want to plant it in something. But it would have to be a private landowner, conservationist who was trying to see what would happen, And again, it may not work. I mean, you may go 5 years and nothing ever happens, and then you turn it into a flooded area. Hey, Duggar, how you doing, buddy? But it'd be very interesting. I can't get it out of my mind. Ever since this afternoon, talking to my buddy of mine, and we were hashing it out, and it just, hey, Dutch, how you doing? And I just went, wow, this here's a new thought, something to daydream about anyway. Because I think every duck hunter, if he's a true hardcore duck hunter, he wants his own little piece of heaven. You know what I'm saying? His own little piece. And who wouldn't? Deer hunters want the same. Bird hunters want the same. Fishermen do the same. Their own little piece of heaven. I guess the old saying is, God, why couldn't my daddy been rich? I gotta have all this stuff by now. We were actually talking about the same thing earlier. I wonder if ducks are going, any ducks are going into there. Because you still got the brown top. If it would depend on what they plant. I don't know. Do you know what they planted this year? Did they plant brown top and corn and sunflower like the normal, or did they do something different? Be interesting. Be very, very interesting. All right, guys, if y'all can do me a favor, please stay tight. I'm going to go fill my glass back up with some ice, and I will be right back. Just hang tight. Oh, you over to Oakley? All right. Yeah, I normally hunt the Toomey fields. They're not too far from my house. How do you do with the Oakley? Y'all doing any good? Have y'all done good in the past? Y'all still talking about the beard contest? Holy cow. That was the funniest night I ever had in my life. Well, Daniel, are you going to be on the Oakley Saturday? All right. So, what else? What other questions may you have for me tonight? Okay. Are you going to be there Saturday? Saturday, this on the opener. Uh, all right. Well, I too am going to be busy Saturday morning. I'm working. I'll be down in Charleston working till about 1 o'clock, and then I'm going to be hauling tail back. I might catch the last couple of hours in a field before they shut it down at 6. So my hope is to either hit Oakley or the Toomey field, because I don't live far from the Toomey field. And that's what I'm going to try to do for Saturday. I doubt very seriously. I doubt very seriously that I will go live while I'm out hunting. And I'll give you my reasons. Number one, where I generally hunt, especially duck hunt, I don't have cell service, none. So that's out of the question. Number two, I'm just not one of those guys that like to go live when I'm hunting. I'm already busy enough with cameras and trying to get a video done, that I just don't, it's just too much to be setting up even a cell phone, even if I do have coverage, to set up a cell phone to do a live when I'm trying to do a video. I tried it last turkey season in Kentucky for a few minutes, and it was spotty at best. And it's just one of those things. Well, I mean, I know why they do it, is to give the birds a rest. Because trust me, they're going to take a beating them first couple Saturdays. But yeah, why they close at 6 is beyond me. But I'm assuming it's because they take such a beating. I even tried to go live Sunday when I was fishing, and I just couldn't. I just didn't have service. Yeah. My live streams are in the evenings. I can be more relaxed. Get up and go do something. Talk about anything. I mean, I know a lot of guys that do it. It's just not for me. Now, I tell you what I would love to do is if I could get the camera equipment and had a place, a private, have a private area. I would love to build a summer duck or wood duck nesting box and then put a camera and run it live stream while wood ducks are in their nesting. Yeah, I have seen people who doing live streams when they're deer hunting, and they're sitting there talking. And if I'm deer hunting, I'm not talking. I want to be as quiet as it can be. Even when I'm duck hunting, I mean, I may joke with some friends of mine and stuff. But it's a little bit different. But where I'm at in them swamps, you couldn't get. Yeah, you don't have coverage. I think if you were doing a live stream, like maybe a dove field or even a duck hunt, if you had a dedicated, cameraman or somebody that could sit there and kind of narrate you while you're doing stuff, but doing it yourself is just, I think it's just too much of a hassle. Jerry Schweier, how you doing? Have you hunt ducks in the Savannah River? Yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, the very first duck I ever killed was a green-winged teal, Drake, when I was 7 years old on the Savannah River, down near Savannah. But I've hunted up and down the Savannah River chain a lot. Yeah, being quiet. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just put together a fishing video. It was me and my son last Sunday. I just put it together. It'll probably come out in the next week or so. But there's very little talking in that. Very little talking. It just, we catch a fish. Yeah, all right. And then go back to being quiet again. So where are you at, Jerry? What part of the world you from? I think you could probably do a live stream if you were, personally, when I'm hunting, I don't want to do a live stream. But if you're thinking of ideas to do live streams in the outdoors, I know a lot of guys that do fishing live streams, but they're always trying to see what the chat's saying. They're not paying attention to fishing. If they're deer hunting, they're not paying attention to, to being quiet and trying to, look for those deer as they're coming through the woods. So I just, I don't want to have to. That's just so much to worry about. Filming for a video, talking, trying to keep up with chat and so forth. I think it's just really more of a hassle for me anyway. Richmond Hill, Georgia. Been through there many times. But I think if you were doing something like maybe, well, in my case, being a duck hunter, talking about vegetation, good and bad vegetation. Again, I think you would need sort of a dedicated camera guy. That's you're gonna have to have a GoPro that's Wi-Fi capable, and you would have to have that GoPro on for instance, on me, if I was talking about the vegetation, and then being able to pan and look at stuff while you're continuously talking. That could be, but again, you would really, I think you'd really have to have a cameraman for that, somebody else with you, to work, to help you with that. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with that one? Anyway, my thoughts anyway. Jerry, what's the name of that refuge off 95 south of where you're at? It's a huge refuge. I can't remember the name of it. It's further south from where you're at. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. Every time I go down that way, I'm always slowing down on the interstate to see if I can see any ducks flying. But I haven't been on the Savannah River in quite some time. I need to get back down there. All right. Any more questions for me tonight? Trying to catch up with chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. So does anybody have any other than hunting videos? And I know Daniel has requested a vegetation type video where we're looking at just good duck foods and whatnot. I'm hoping to start working on that possibly when I get back from Kentucky. Have I ever seen ducks in a sunflower field? No, I have never seen ducks in a sunflower field. Not me personally. I don't. Like I said, I've only seen ducks in a dry field in South Carolina twice in my life. And I mean, I've seen them out west, but I've never seen them. Only the other two times. Both one was one was just a turned over field. I don't know what was planted in it, to be quite honest with you. It was already turned over. And it was muddy. I wouldn't say it was flooded. It was just muddy. and in a green wheat field. And now out west, I've seen them in cut corn, cut barley, cut oats. I've never seen any in a sunflower. Be kind of interesting. That's the one right there. Ultima Hot, however you pronounce that one. Not the Ogeechee, but the other one. However you pronounce it, that's it. Yeah, every time I go over across that bridge, I'm always looking. Excuse me. So, like I was saying, if there's any videos y'all want me to do, anything that y'all are, that have any questions about, let me know. Again, if you have questions, you may not want to put them in chat, but if you have questions, you can always email me at daddyduck365@gmail. Hey, Laura, how you doing? What are you doing? What blind? Oh, okay. Yeah. This is my very most comfortable blind. I do want to, Laura, I am looking at getting a green screen and doing something with a green screen. Yeah, it says in the blind. That's just because we're talking about ducks tonight. In the blind, talking about ducks. When I do my Monday nights, it's just Monday Night Live. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna goof off. We're gonna carry on. Anything goes, just about. But tonight is straight and narrow. We talking about ducks, waterfowl. But I do want to get a green screen and get a green screen blind behind me. I think that'd be kind of cool. If this takes off to where I can start getting questions, lots of questions, and that's what I'm really trying to push forward. I had three other groups of guys that were going to help me with this. Life has just got in the way of a lot of things for everybody, but I wouldn't mind doing like these kind of either live streams, in an actual blind somewhere. But I just don't have the where I hunt and stuff. It's I don't have any cell reception, and of course I do it at night, so it'd be dark. Yes, I know. Yeah, I've seen their lives, and yes, they have a great green screen stuff behind them. It's pretty cool. But I'm actually thinking about building a skid blind to do some of my videos out of, and just putting it, behind the house. But what I'm really kind of hoping is if I get enough questions that are coming in, as people are getting more familiar with me, as they're getting more used to the way I explain stuff, that I can start getting more and more questions via email that I can answer either on upcoming videos or because I'm trying to see if I got enough interest in this. You know what I'm saying? So I've got like 10 people. I think I've had up to 14 tonight. But if I get enough interest in this where I can get the green screen, get all set up behind me, or even do it in a blind, maybe even do a pre-recording or something and answer questions. I don't know. I mean, there's so many options out there. So, just a lot of things that I'm thinking about and trying to improve on while I'm doing this. Now, Becca's got a great green screen, by the way. I understand that, Cecilia. I'm just trying to get it more duck related, more duck because it is in the blind, and Laura made a good point. And she made a very good point. And I just want to, Monday Night Live, my Monday Night Live, this is great, but in the blind, you're right. I think I need to get it more hunting oriented, if that makes sense. But like I said, if I can get a lot more interest in this, especially start receiving emails like that, I'd like to broaden it. And yeah, Laura, I understand that you were just razzing me and trying to, and you were, by the way, but you did bring up a great point. I mean, you really did. It's something to seriously think about. Exactly, Cecilia. Exactly. So I understood you were cutting up. I mean, I got that. I loved it. But it makes sense. Why not? And here we go. Thanks a lot, Daniel. I appreciate it. And it does make a difference, dude. I mean, I've been playing with duck calls pretty much all afternoon. I've been playing with, these are just a handful of calls that I took off the shelf that I've been playing with, today. And they, that right there is that's a DJ call, but it's similar to an old, very tough polycarbonate molded plastic call. Very, very loud. Very loud. Not as loud as acrylic. Yeah, kind of like a man shed, but not so much. I mean, I do have a man shed out there. It's got all my decoys and stuff in it. But more to do, like there's certain videos that I do that I like to be outside, instead of being either sitting at the desk or in the shed. I want to be outside where I get the natural sun and stuff. And I'm just talking about things. And it would be good to have a place. But yeah, Daniel, it's one of those things that people don't think about. Is where you're hunting is what type of call to use. I know it's not going to sound quite right, but here are two wooden calls. They both have a mellow sound to them, very soft. I can get soft, I can get loud. If you look at them, one's bored out. There we go. One's bored out more than the other. You can see that. All right. So being more bored out takes less air. No, that's the wrong one. This one takes more air. Takes more air to blow. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, Anti. But if you hear this one, it's soft, right? And this one's a little bit softer, but more raspier sound. But both of them are wood calls. And then if you go to polycarbonate, these are double reeds, and this is a double reed. You can kind of hear the difference. You can hear that it's a lot louder. And that's polycarbonate or molded plastic. So, when you're hunting open fields, open areas, you want it more loud. You want it louder. And you can still break it down to getting soft. And you can break it down, but if you're hunting in timber, you cannot beat a wood call. That's why I always keep a wood call on my lanyard. I don't want to blow too much in here because my wife will jump up and run in here and beat on the door. Well, hang tight, Daniel, because I'm fixing to do a video. As a matter of fact, I'm scripting it right now that I hope to be out next Wednesday, and it's going to be for beginners. So just hang tight. And there's nothing wrong with the molded calls. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay, nothing. As a matter of fact, I think if you are a beginner, I don't think you should be spending a lot of money on a call because you may not enjoy duck hunting. So you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on calls. So, get the less expensive. Hey, Jeremy, welcome back. But I do have a video I'm hoping to get done for next Wednesday, which will be specifically for beginners. Trophy Adventures, man. What's going on, brother? Glad to see you back. Appreciate you coming in. But, you talk about calls. Like I was saying in the video, that I have calls that I've bought that, I just can't blow them. And this is the perfect example. One of the perfect examples is right here. This is a DJ call, which is pretty much a replica of PS Ult, the PS Ult calls. Molded call. Hey, Mark J. Daniel, I had the original. I had a 1974, one of his original calls. He started in 72, I believe it was, but I had a 74 wooden call, and I've lost it. I lost it duck hunting. I don't know where it went, how it came off my lanyard. I looked down and it was gone. But you take this call here, like I said, this is a perfect example of a call I cannot blow. And now watching me do it. I have to blow so much air in here that I can't really get down on it because, like I said, I'm in the house. My wife's in the other room. And I'll stick this reed each and every time when I try to get down hard on it. I cannot blow it consistently enough, because of just the way the call is. Another example, now I've done some, this is the Duck Commander triple reed, triple threat. It's got 3 reeds in it, and I have done a little bit of trimming on the back end of it and got it to where I can now just start to blow it. But when I bought this call, I squealed it the first time I hit it. It doesn't take hardly any air whatsoever. And, but yeah. Well, I appreciate that, M2. Have I ever carved duck calls? No. I have never turned out a duck call in my life. I think I could with a little bit of practice, but I've never turned a call out. I don't own a lathe, and you'd have to cut it out of wood and you'd have to you use a lathe to cut them out, and you have to use a jig to cut the tone board. Let me see if I can kind of give you an idea. This is a Duck Commander. This is a wood call. M2, you take care of yourself, man. Good luck on your dove shoot. All right, so let's see here. All right, so you have the barrel, and as you can see, it's got a pretty big bore to it, and the only way you're going to cut that is with a lathe. Okay. The next thing is your tone board, and as you can see, you got a trough in here. You got a hole that goes through here, which has got to be tuned out with a lathe. And here, you need to have a jig so you can pre-cut this out with a jig and then do some fine tuning with sandpaper and so forth. Your next things are your reeds. So you'd have to, these are Mylar reeds. This is a double reed call. So as you can see, there's 2 reeds. Now this one just happens to have a grommet stuck in there. But then you got to do that, and then you need a cork or a wedge. This particular call uses a wedge. This call uses a wedge. So a lot of work goes into making a call. I know the basic functions. I know how to trim the reeds. I can cut the reeds if I need. I can tune a call. But as far as turning one out, I've never tried, and not that I'm saying I don't want to. Hey, M2, thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate that. But all right, let's see here. Daniel, a few calls I've tried. I like the Haydell. Haydell makes a great call, man. My dad, he has a Haydell call. He's been running for years. My dad is a Jensen call. He loves the Jensen calls, and he loves his Earl Dennison, real foot style brass reed call. But he has a Haydel call that he's been using for years. He loves it. They are. I have yet to find one that fits my air, so to speak, in Haydel. I know a lot of guys that use them. They're very good callers with them. For them, they sound great. For me, I sound like a water chicken. It's got something stuck in its throat. I just cannot. I can't get it to sound right to save my life. At least I can't for me in my ear. Well, and I know a lot of guys who have taken shotgun shells and have cut them down for wood duck whistles and pintail whistles. I know guys that have done that. But as far as taking a piece of wood in the field and carving one out or something, no. Yeah, they are very light, Daniel. Freezer Bound Outdoors, what's going up, bud? Wow, man, 307. What's going on, Bubba? How you been? I ain't seen you around in a long time. Welcome back. But we're talking ducks tonight. We've gone over some duck calls. We have gone over hunting dry fields and the lack of ducks that we see on my flyway in dry fields versus dry fields out west, and why we see them there and why we don't see them here. Pretty much boiled it down to when people plant, when the farmers plant, and when they harvest in that time of year. That's okay, bro. I know you've been busy with school and baseball and whatnot. I got you. Trying to catch up with the chat here. Who's all with me and can't wait for summer to end? I cannot wait. Yeah, I am. Bo, I cannot wait. And not just because it's hunting season, but it's because I cannot. I mean, I'm sitting in my house. It's 70 degrees in my house, and I'm sweating. I mean, it's just freaking hot. Maybe I need Jeremy to come work on my air condition. Jeremy, get over here tomorrow and work on my air condition for me, will you? Yeah, just pack up right now and start heading this way. It will take you exactly 13 hours to get here. Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it's still, man, for a fat man, it's hot. Summer is the devil. Yes, sir, it is. Oh. Well, we caught a few, just get off the duck situation there for a second. Oh, I don't think it'll be all that bad, Jeremy. To be quite honest, once you get over here and I feed you some barbecue and whatnot, I think we can work something out. We caught some pretty good fish Sunday. Me and the boy, we went out and caught a few. And yes, I put them in the boat. And yes, I'm going to eat them. Oh, don't you worry. Look here, we're gonna have I can make a pretty good barbecue. If you saw that video I did on during the turkey season in Kentucky, you seen my barbecue, and them boys ate every last bit of it. I mean, it was gone. Food always displaces a service call. Yeah, it does. Oh goodness. Well, I hope they you allowed them to take it, Cecilia. I don't have any in the house right now, but I guarantee if I knew you were on the way in 13 hours, I'd have some good one. I'd have a big pan of it. But like I said, guys, any of you guys have any questions when it comes to waterfowl, ducks, especially ducks, if it's something you don't want to put in the chat for whatever reason, please send me an email, daddyduck365@gmail.com. Have I ever had barbecue raccoon? Yes, I have. And no, I don't want to eat it again. Yeah, I have. I've eaten barbecued raccoon. I know a guy that barbecued a possum. That was a little weird. And I've had barbecued beaver. How many bands do I have? You know what? Oh. I'm honestly going to have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 7 goose bands. And let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, thought I had more than that. I got 12 duck bands. Your father-in-law makes a good barbecued raccoon. I'd like to try it. Yeah, we were supposed to get some rain today. I mean, it clouded up all day today, and we're supposed to be getting some tomorrow, possibly even Saturday. That would depend, Jeremy, if Billy is driving a Ford or a Chevrolet. If he is driving a Ford, it will be about 20 minutes. If it is a Chevrolet, he'll never catch him. Oh, you got a banded sandhill crane. That's cool. True story. let me put these up. Yeah, he'll never catch him if he's in a Chevrolet. Oh, goodness. Well, guys, we've almost been here for 2 hours. I think we've got 13 people in here. I hate to leave 13 people in the room, but I do have to go to work in the morning. I hate it. I hate to leave is what I'm getting at. Oh, that's messed up, Daniel. That is so messed up. But guys, I've been going on here for 2 hours. I do have to get up early in the morning and go to work. I do appreciate y'all coming in. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, please. I sure would appreciate it. Again, if you've got any questions whatsoever, going on duck hunting, anything about waterfowl, ducks, whatever, please do me a favor. Send me an email, guys. I like getting emails. daddyduck365@gmail. You can go to my about page. If you got anything you want to send me, just, a decal or what have you. I have a P.O. Box, P.O. Box 412, Wedgefield, South Carolina, 29168. That's also in my about page. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with Facebook, whatever questions. If you're in the area and you want to meet up, we can do that as well. Do ducks get fleas? What about ticks? No, but they do get lice. Duck get lice. It's called duck lice. But anyway, had a great night tonight, guys, and y'all have a good one. Have a safe week. Continue to pray for those in southern Louisiana. They're still suffering from that. So continue to pray for them. And anyway, y'all have a great night, and we will see y'all next time on Daddy Duck 365. Good night, y'all.